Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of It's Your Birthday, the only podcast that gets you a gift every single week, and this week is no different, and that gift, as always, is Cyberpunk, because there's not fucking else out there. So what else are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
I'm your host, Kelly Workman. I'm with Christian Langton, as always. I will say, towards the end of the show, there may be some spoiler-filled parts of Cyberpunk, because we've talked at length about its bugs and other issues. We may dip into that a little bit more. But at this point in our experiences, the things we have left to talk about are mostly going to be what happens in the story. So bear that in mind. And again, we will warn you before that happens. But
yeah, and we had
at some point
we had like a 2-hour discussion that released over the weekend. So go check that out. And then I guess if we can put a little thing where you can skip the talk after, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I could probably put a timestamp in there where you can get the fuck out if you don't want to hear it, because it's
we'll see.
Because yeah. But we'll start with news, I guess. So far, and hey, guess what? The news is about Cyberpunk. So check this out.
We're jumping right in this shit.
Yeah, we might as well. We're already there. So yeah, the CD Projekt kind of came out and said that they're sorry. they said my bad.
They had a whoopsie doopsie.
Yeah, they said my bad whoopsie doops on the old PS4, Xbox One version of this game here.
Hold on, because I am going to pull up some footage while we talk about this, because I think that's
the
way
one's
more
so open. But yeah, you should. It is.
I'll just pull up the review from IGN, because they kind of show every bad part of it.
Well, what's it? Digital Foundry put out their videos too a couple days back, showing performance comparisons.
Yeah, this is not encoding lag or anything. This is like because OBS 60 frames capture and all this. Yeah, it's abysmal, dude.
So Digital Foundry was showing some things, and they got it down to like 14 FPS a couple times. More specifically, a street that would keep doing it. At any rate, it was.
Oh my god.
It's pretty bad. You should see it on some of the people when they walk up to them. Like, they don't have faces, and their outfits are just polygons, and it's like pretty aggressive.
Yeah, they've released a couple statements, but I guess I just kind of want to let this play out, because we'll talk about a little bit of the performance we've had on PC compared to this, because I thought we kind of had it bad. I thought we kind of had it a little bad, but
it was rough. I've luckily, from what it seems like now, finally got mine ironed out, because I've now gotten it to be at like 110 most of the time. If I'm on foot, it's like 110 at all times. If I'm driving, it's about 75 to like 80 FPS, which is substantially better than it was. And that was only due to like fully uninstalling all drivers with DDU and then reinstalling them from the website, not through the NVIDIA experience. And to be honest, my whole computer has felt quite a bit snappier as a result of getting rid of all the NVIDIA drivers, which, should have probably done that earlier anyway, but it's never really been like noticeable hiccup. But here specifically, wow.
After you sent me that, I also implemented that AMD hex fix that you can put on the EXE that like corrects the timing issue with the CPU.
Yeah.
If you have AMD chips, so I recommend anybody who's running Ryzen go look up that hex tool and get that edited, because after that I did notice a pretty considerable difference in like performance that hits the CPU, because playing the game before, it was like my CPU was only hitting like 50% load, and I mean I have a 3900X. It's a pretty decent CPU, but at the same time it felt like there was like this chokehold there. So after enabling that, the load went up a pretty good amount, and also I noticed like a pretty significant change in performance, at least like 15% or more on car insurance by switching to Geico. And then and so
that's what I was going to say quickly. That was like from the Intel NVIDIA side of it, was I was having the opposite issue, where it was my CPU was sometimes running at like 80% usage, which is like, it's like a 16 core processor. So having 16 cores at 80% usage is pretty insane. And what was happening with 20 series and more so 30 series, although I've heard that this fix hasn't worked for everybody with those. The 30 series anyway, is it wasn't what would happen is when you drove into the city, it would throttle down the GPU to where it was using like 40-50% usage on the GPU, which generally speaking, if the performance is good and you're using 100% usage, that's where you want to be. And it was like when you got into the city, it'd be like mine would go down to 40 some odd frames or something like that. And then now with the fix, it's like I said, it basically doubled it. It was like at like 100 or so now. And that's driving around in like some of the fastest cars you can buy in the game. And it's been like night and day. I will say though, I do think there is still some kind of leak in this game. And granted, most people probably aren't playing 6-hour sessions like I've been, but there is, from what it looks like to me, it seems like the bugs are stacking on top of each other and eventually like overpowering whatever system you have to where over time it degrades, because I like fully closed out of the game and reloaded it after like 6 hours and it was back to like 110. But at some point it was dipping it back down into the mid 50s. And I did notice like several overlay issues, like crosshair issues. There would be like when I get in the car, my normal HUD would be over that, so that was a thing. And then there was like, I think honestly too, I think there's something with some of the heavier. There's like that one shotgun that just sounds like you're just shooting straight up shrapnel at somebody. Whatever that shotgun is seems to also be tied with some kind of performance impact, because all the other ones have been fine, but that one specifically, it seems like because of, I think the audible part of it and the fidelity of what's happening with it seems to, and I could be totally off base here, but it does seem like that one impacts performance overall if you continually use it or something. I don't know. And again, this could all be nonsense, but it does very much seem like the bugs and performance issues don't go out when you like fast travel, for instance, where you're actually reloading, or even reloading the same. It seems tied to like your whole play session, and then once you close out and come back in, it seems to reset everything.
I mean, we'll talk more bugs later, but I've definitely had a lot more like because when we talked, it was like, oh, I've had some minimal stuff here and there, but it started to get pretty bad, like in the later missions in the game.
We'll talk about it.
But yeah, they said, first of all, we'd like to start by apologizing to you for not showing the game based on base last-gen consoles before it premiered, and in consequence, not allowing you to make a more informed decision about your purchase. We should have paid more attention to making it play better. Paraphrasing here, they have a lot of updates coming. The first is a patch 1 in February. They have like a couple hot fixes coming in between now and then. But that's their first major bug fix patch, and then they're going to have a second major bug fix patch in February. This should fix most of the prominent problems gamers are facing with the last-gen consoles. Now, those two patches, I believe, are going to be specifically trying to improve the console editions, is what I'm getting from this. So, like, PC will get some updates, but, I mean, these... I'll be honest with you, like, if they can at least keep the game from the memory leak issues and crashing, I can wait for some, like, refinement, and I can wait for some retooling of stuff, because I know that that's coming. Like, rebalancing, and the game needs a lot of attention in that front, but...
there's some stuff I was initially upset with, but having played a lot more of it, I'm understanding a lot more of the decisions that were made, especially with the skill trees and some other stuff. There are some things, I think, again, that still need to be... I mean, my main one, I just need a mass dismantle. Like, that's a quality of life thing that's just like, come on, dog. You had to know that we were going to be dismantling, like, 300 to 400 items at a time. Like, come on. That's just crazy.
It's true. That is one thing that they never quite corrected in The Witcher 3, which was, like, the abysmal inventory. Like, that's one thing
they
that
did
they
eventually.
never really...
They patched in a better inventory setup, but it was never quite as good as you would want it. Yeah.
The interesting thing about this is that, two things, I guess, is that they said this line kind of got me a little bit. This won't make the game run on last gen look like it's running on a high spec PC or next gen console, but it will be closer to that experience than it is now. I honestly think like they just maybe need to tool down some of the assets and turn down some like depth of field, or like add some LOD, like detail distance settings, and I don't know. Like,
I mean,
it just
they
seems...
need to turn it into GTA 3 for the PlayStation 2 is what they need to do. No, I mean, so I'm on because I've been on Reddit for a little bit, kind of discussing this with some other people, because that was like, because I understand all of it, but I sort of think like, one, I don't think they had a choice but to release this game. Like, I will say they definitely have made decisions that were poor up to this point, but at the point they're at, I feel like they didn't really have a better solution than to release it in the state that it's in, I guess. Like, because, well, first off, I'll start by saying the one defense I'll make is like the major complaint people were saying is like, hey, you didn't show us this specific console version of this game. And I do understand that, but I think this is a wider argument for the game industry as a whole, because if you look at it, like if you look at any AAA title that comes on the Switch, they're not showing you the Switch one in marketing. They're not going like, that's the one you want. Like, you go into the Switch version knowing you're not getting the best experience possible. Yeah. And like, I understand that this game has been in development for quite a long time and that it was originally marketed on these systems, but like anything else in this industry, like, it's all subject to change, and it does change, and they could have been definitely more forward with the fact that this is not what you would expect. But I think they also have to, I think you have to be aware also is like, we should never really even be playing The Witcher on the Switch, but people bought it and played it and seemed to enjoy it, knowing that it's like...
It's because I think the work was done to get it there. Like, that's the major difference. Like,
eventually, yeah, but when that came... Because I bought that actually day one when it came out on the Switch, and it was not great. I mean, you remember people were going in and hacking it to make it run better initially by unlocking all that stuff. Now, I will say for bugs and other stuff, it's definitely, that wasn't the case there so much, but it is, but you know, again, the premiere version where we're at on the PC is not devoid of it either. We're getting those as well. So it's not like, that, I mean, again, like I said in the other episode, it's like the first hour and a half, I couldn't get the game to run more than 10 minutes. So it's like, well, we're definitely not without the crashing issues and stuff. But, what I will say is like, for the position that they found themselves in, and again, it could be argued that they put themselves in this position, but at the point, it's like, what else could they have really done? It's like, there's like about 4 ways to see it, I guess. It's like, you could have delayed the last gen consoles and just given us the PC one, right? You could have done that. You could have delayed, you could have canceled that version altogether, given money back or whatever, say, yeah, and been like, here you go. But that's going to piss those people off quite a bit. And you know, they're not getting a busted game, but they're not getting a game at all. And for some people, that's going to be worse. Not everyone, obviously, but that's going to piss a lot of people off regardless. You could delay the whole thing, but then you piss off, you know, even more so your investors, everyone as a whole, because it's been delayed. Obviously, I would have been more fine to wait. It would have been really bummed. You know, it would have been upsetting. But it wouldn't have been great. But then, you know, their investors, Sony and Microsoft, because I'm sure they have some kind of numbers they're expecting when that game actually comes out on their end for sales and whatnot. And then you get into that whole argument again of crunch, because it's like, if they're delaying it, that means they're getting crunched again, etc. You know, the only thing I feel like they could have done is at least this, because at least it's shown that for like the people that are getting to play it, even though it is bug ridden for sure, are at least coming out and going, there's a really good game here. Like, I know that you're not experiencing it yet, but there is a game here, rather than the backlash of going, like, I feel like it's the most controlled damage they could do to themselves while still, you know, still making something happen, I guess. I don't know, because the other caveat being like, it's hard to get these new consoles right now and you have to wait a little bit, but hey, you have that new version when it happens already, you know. It's not like,
Well,
you're not restricted there.
You look at games through history, and I mean, like, there's been plenty of examples where, hey, we're developing this for Xbox, like the original Xbox consoles. Oh, hey, we're moving development over to the next generation, so we're not releasing it on, the previous gen consoles. We're moving full development to the next one. They should have got ahead of this like 2 years ago, I think. Like, they should have really came out and like had a big apology tour and been like, look, we really know that y'all are looking forward to having this on a last-gen experience, but unfortunately the scope of the game has become so much that we feel like developing on an older generation of consoles or putting efforts into that will hinder the game and its fidelity and the story we want to tell. They could have spun it a billion different ways. And the point I'm making on that is that there was also news today that came out that there was like an emergency investors call.
Because they've dropped like 30% in as far as their stocks and stuff go.
Yeah, they said, we ignored signals about the need for additional time to refine the game on the base last-gen consoles. It was the wrong approach and against our business philosophy. So there's two things I think about. Like, one, either they didn't start the last-gen console porting until much later in development, or two, it was always on the back burner, kind of getting worked on, but if they ignored signals internally from people like working on it and being like, hey, this thing is fucked, like, then that's like pretty bad egg in the face. But the other thing is that you got to think that they kind of misled people, and that's the other thing that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. Because
I've seen a lot of it. I mean, that's like that. Usually, it breaks down into another discussion, but the opening argument has seemed to be like, we were misled, we want this, etc. And I definitely get that.
What they did was they released footage that they controlled for reviews, which was odd. ACG, one of the game reviewers that I watch on YouTube, like refused to do the review because he was like, look, they told me I can review it, but I can only show like their B-roll footage. I can't like show the gameplay until the day it releases. He was also saying like up until now we've had little to no showing of base consoles. Like they showed it running on PS4 Pro and PS5, and the Pro has issues that they didn't display, but not nearly as bad as the base consoles. But at the same time, they controlled the narrative and messaging. They only allowed PC footage out there in the wild. And then people, had no fucking clue what they were going to go to the store and pick up or download digitally. Like they just had no fucking clue. And that's my opinion, is that I think the signs for this were very telling early on. Like, I don't know anything about the internal stuff here, but I assume we're going to start hearing about, like, the people coming out anonymously and being like, yeah, we were working on this fucking thing, and we just never had faith in making the last-gen consoles work, but it was, like, pushed, kind of. Because you also got to think, like, they would lose a huge profit margin. Huge profit margin.
For sure. Well, and that's what I mean is I mentioned, like, the Sony and Microsoft side of things, because I'm sure they had made deals there already. Because even Microsoft put out a Cyberpunk Xbox One X or whatever that was like themed completely in it, controllers, all this other stuff. So I'm sure deals were made at a point where they had to do it. And I could say that there's probably some bit of hubris too, because I mean, it is, again, like we were saying, I said a bit ago, is like it is the company that put The Witcher on the Switch, or at least another company did that, but they helped them along to do it. So it's like, if they can do that, what aren't they capable of if they're able to pack that into this piece of hardware, which is in no way should be capable of handling that game. But I also think, like, I mean, I have to give them some, granted, again, like if you move aside from the I guess I don't know. It's hard to say, because I could see it in the same human condition. Like, obviously, it's a company, and they. I mean, it's a corpo, right? It's the corporate. It's a company. It's a thing that it is. But I have to try and look at, like, the human side of the thing of, like. And again, they should definitely have been more vocal about all this stuff. But I do feel like all of the time and effort and things that they've put into the game itself, I think that they are under the impression, which is the impression I've taken away with it so far, is like, if you can, which again they should have said this, but it's like, if you can deal with all this, there is a game here that we really want you to see, and it's
of
like,
course.
and I don't think the I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't seem, it's not completely a washed blindfold, I guess, of like misdirection and lie and all this stuff, because I mean, again, yes, performance issues and stuff are totally there. It does have those problems, but I think at its heart, I don't know. I mean, they did build a really gripping world. They are telling a really incredible story, and like,
but that's
the game
thing,
mechanics,
like,
when they come together, all do function. So it's like, it's hard.
You can explain that though to somebody who's playing on console, and they would be like, "What in the fuck are you talking about?"
Oh no, I have, and it's been the same thing. I'm sucking corporate dick and all this stuff. I've heard it already. Like, I get it. I'm saying, I'm trying to look at, like, I guess, play devil's advocate to some extent, but also like, I guess the thing is too is like, I don't know. I'm probably in the wrong for most of this, and I totally get that. But I do think like, it's also kind of a thing of like, what did these people expect exactly? Like, you anybody that's played a lot of this stuff, you look at any of these games and you go, there's no way that's on this system. Like,
well, I mean, historically, cross-gen games have never been great. Historically, no. Like,
they couldn't get Fallout 4 to run well on this thing. So what do they think that this is going to? Like, and again, The Witcher on the Switch runs like, or on The Witcher 3 on PlayStation base runs like shit. It's awful. It's another one that's like, the frame rate is terrible. The resolution's not great. Even on a Pro, it's really bad. Like, from the experience I had played with it. And like, it's playable for sure, but it's not like, I don't know. It's not that weird to, like I said, I think this is an argument for the game industry as a whole, because I don't think it's that strange that companies aren't showing the game on every system to you. Like, yeah, and they never do this. Like, they never are showing you all of the systems it's being played on, ever. And
but
like,
I don't think anything's ever come out this busted.
I just don't think it's
exceptionally busted.
I don't think it's that. I think it's that this game is as desirable as it is. Because if you look at like Fallout 76, it came out super bugged, super fucked. I mean, when I even tried to download the beta, installing the beta of that game deleted the game. It was like, as you installed it, it goes, it's gone, and you're like, just downloaded 60 gigs of it, and then you get into the game and like, stuff doesn't function, people are falling through the world, like all kinds of shit. I mean, that's
you're talking about. Are you talking about 76 or Fallout 4?
Yeah, 76.
Oh, well, 76 was a whole different shit show for other reasons. Like, I mean, it was.
Though?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the thing is, like, Fallout 76 at its core, whenever I remember it coming out, was mostly connectivity problems. Yeah, the performance was like not great, but at the same time, a lot of the complaints of that game were just the core experience of it. Like, people had their qualms with like the performance and like lag and servers and the restrictions around that. But
okay, well then let's look at any Bethesda game from the last like 4 years. Like,
of course, I mean, it's the same thing happened when.
But I'm saying like, they're all broken. A lot of them are even broken in the exact same way. And they're still like, everyone seems fine with it. Like, they still get high marks, high regards.
Dude, I don't know, because I never saw anything like fucking that in a base console version of, like, hold on, let me try to get, like, it's just so crazy to me that this went through QA and was fine. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not bad, and I'm not saying it's not like, I'm not saying it's not damning to the company by any means. I'm not saying they should have released this. I'm just saying, yeah, I mean, that looks fucking terrible. I'm not gonna lie to you, that looks awful. I'm just saying, again, like, this game I think is under a spotlight more than most, and that like, okay, take the Outer Worlds on Switch, for example. That ran and looked like horseshit.
Of course, but
it's one, it's on hardware that shouldn't run it, and two, it's also not a massive title, like massively anticipated title here that is in the same scrutiny as this one. I mean, it's like this has been a prominent issue continually to different degrees, but I think again because of the monumental want of this game is that why it's so glaring now more than it ever is. And like, but I mean, think again, it's a bigger argument with the industry as a whole rather than just them specifically.
But at the same time, I guarantee you that there was a conversation that happened years ago where they sat at a table and said, do we need to pursue previous gen consoles? Do we need to get out of it? Do we need to say we're focusing efforts on next gen platforms and PC? And whoever, because I'm like 1,000% certain that must have happened. And whoever made the decision to pursue last gen is either fired, long gone from the company, or really reeling right now because they've damaged the reputation of the company. Like that's one thing that they talk about in the article right here is that they said that they're gonna like spare basically no expense to get it done. It was the wrong approach of our business philosophy. I'm gonna try to find the article that I saw where they were talking about.
I mean they did say that was basically like that's gonna be, you know, it's a pretty much our the only thing we're gonna try and focus on realistically is getting this going in the way that it should. I mean, and they're offering refunds and stuff as well. So I mean, it's like it's again, it's another thing where like what now that again, it's one of those things. It's like, since it's already happened, what else could they possibly be doing other than what they're doing now? Is like they're promising to fix it. They're giving refunds. I mean, there's not much else that can happen there. You know, I don't think anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, and then again, giving the next gen version to them for free as well. Like it's you know, I think it'd also be a bit of a different discussion too if like the supply chain for newer consoles was easier to get a hold of, and that, you know, and that's another
of course
like argument there that's outside of their control. Like that has nothing to do with them. And again, I'm not trying to continually defend them either. I just think that there's a lot of things at play that aren't just like they tried to steal a bunch of money or something, because I just don't feel like, I don't think any company, and especially them, but any company in general is going to be like, fuck the console people, let's get all that money. Like, well, they already are. I don't think it's the company that does that. Like, I don't think it's just like we're fucking them. I think it's a series of really fucking bad decisions that led to this. Yeah,
a series of very bad decisions.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think everybody had the greatest intentions, and I'm sure the people working on the port or the version for last gen like were really like busting fucking ass to make it happen. But if they themselves were like, hey, this just is not viable, and they were ignored, like that's a big company. Like nobody wants to work for somebody like that. Like that tarnishes reputations. Like it's just I don't know. They've made improvements. Like I was reading a PC Gamer article about where The Witcher was at launch. 18 patches for that game up until one of its most recent updates before it came to next gen, or before it's coming to next gen consoles. 18 fucking patches, and the first several of those were like major, and it fixed like animations. It fixed like they retooled a lot of it. Like
it was the same kind of thing, and that's why I think like I think it was also probably done more in a good faith move of like, people are with us because they like what we make regardless of how it shows. Like this is like, again, I mean, that's not the best way to go about business, and maybe not how they're doing it, but it is one of those things where like, again, people have been extremely lenient on Bethesda for years, and again, it's not the same situation here necessarily, but it is that thing of like, people are more so like okay with with games being in a less than ideal state as long as they get to play them. Because, I mean, again, you have to think, too, what's the outrage of them canceling this game completely on that system? What's the outrage of them delaying it again? Like, what is the backlash? Because it's going to come no matter what.
Yeah.
And, again, it is based on decisions they've made or didn't make or whatever. But there is no way to slice it to where they wouldn't have gotten heat at this point. So what is the move to do? And, again, I think this is probably the only move they really could do. Like, other than just cancel it outright. But again, that's a huge outrage, and that loses a ton of faith too, because that means they never, maybe ever buy. They'll definitely never pre-order a game again from them, because they know that it may not be on the thing they have or whatever.
Well, what I was saying is that historically they have done that. Historically, companies have done that and gotten out and said, hey, this game and its scope and scale is just not going to work for our current gen platforms. We're going to have to move. And I think the transparency hasn't always been there.
I was going to say, can you give me an example of when that has happened? I'm just curious.
A big one that actually comes to mind is like Cameo Elements of Power. Like that was shown around on like demos for the original Xbox. That was shown, and that was a pretty hyped game because it was like the next big thing from Rare under Microsoft. But they like came out and they were like, okay, that's not happening on base platform Xbox. We have to move development over to this. I'm fairly certain the same thing happened with. I think they at one point they were working on like a cross-gen version of like Halo 3 or something, or like one of the Halo games, or they had some issue porting one old one to the next one and they scrapped that project. Nintendo's done it. I mean, Nintendo historically has like one example is like Mother. They took in Japan anyway. They were developing for the N64, and this disc attachment came out, failed, and then they were like, okay, we're not developing for N64 anymore. We're going to move it to the next platform, and then they just scrapped the project entirely. That's a different kind of story. But I mean, I could pull examples. Like, I'm sure somebody out there has written some article about it.
Yeah. I guess I meant more in a more recent.
I mean, it's been 7 years since the last gen consoles. So, and I'm sure there were like hold on, PS3 to PS4 canceled games. So PlayStation. Oh, this is just a list.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say I don't know. Like, I can't think of them that were canceled out. Like, canceled on one that moved to the next one rather than just outright canceled.
Yeah, let me see. Well, I mean, there were several instances where Sony straight up was like talking about their next gen platforms like a couple years ago, and they said we're developing games that are coming out exclusively for PlayStation 5 in a time that, the future was uncertain for a next gen platform. So like, they did say a while ago that their core focus was like next gen experiences, like gearing people up for it. Things like that, but I'd have to like really dive into examples, but I've definitely seen over time, like, and I think it happened more in like the transition from like PS1 to PS2 era, where like they were just developing for like underperforming like platforms and moved the entire project to the next gen. But my point is that they should have done that. That's my point, is that I think they should have years ago, before the hype train really went, like, because people were always excited for the game. Like, people were always looking at the like teaser and like talking about like, oh, no news on this, and then it kind of drops out of nowhere. Like, you always heard like, oh, they're doing Cyberpunk news this year. Oh, not happening. Oh, they're doing Cyberpunk news.
I will say I would have rather them cancel the PS4 version and Xbox One version completely. Yeah. And
just for the benefit of everything else.
Well, I was going to say, to give a more full-featured game on our end, because that's what the example I used when I was talking to somebody about it. I was like, well, they're basically trying to paint a mural with a Sharpie. It's like, I can only do so much because I'm limited now to this thing. The other thing I'll mention too is like they built a whole new engine for this game as well. So I imagine a lot of the early development was trying to make that function properly too, which is a huge undertaking in it by any stretch of like trying to make a whole new system that everything's running on, then getting it to work, then designing everything around it, then getting that all to happen, which is, I think it's an understatement really how much work that actually takes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's we can probably move on. It's been 35 minutes, and I feel like I'm just arguing for the sake of arguing at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's
I think
talk.
they did it. I think they did a bad idea. But yeah, go ahead.
So I want to find a different website. I can't look at that background.
You can't work at Mercury.
It's just
Pomeranian.
It's just right there. The game,
or whatever dog that is, I guess Pomeranian.
The Game Awards happened.
Yeah.
If you give a shit about that kind of thing. So there were some
Hades
winners.
won Roguelike of the Year, which is unfair. They should have won way more than that, but
yeah, I want to pull up.
I mean, it's fair that they won that
one,
one, but they should have won a lot more.
Yeah.
It's no surprise Last of Us Part 2 won Game of the Year. Would you look at that? Who would have thought?
Yeah, so we'll just go through it real quick. Game of the Year was Last of Us Part 2.
Best art direction for Ghost of Tsushima is the one that pissed me off the most, though. Because it's like, that game really
has a neat style to it, but it's...
But best? Like, it's cool, but best?
They're doing some shit in that game. They're doing some shit in it. I agree Hades should have won it, but, yeah, best narrative, Last of Us Part 2. Best art direction, Ghost of Tsushima. Best scores, Final Fantasy VII Remake. That one upset me.
Yeah.
Audio design, The Last of Us. Up next to Doom Eternal, dude. Doom Eternal.
Well,
arguably,
I don't love Butt Rock all that much, so it's hard for me to...
Well, it's not really...
It's not. Care.
That is a very... terrible way of explaining
here's the
Doom
thing.
Eternal's music.
Usually I'm pretty open to most things, but I had fucking id Software force the Doom soundtrack down my ears for fucking 72 hours, and I'll never give them anything ever again. Fuck them. Normally I'm open to it, and I'm not gonna say that the soundtrack of Doom Eternal didn't kick ass.
When you hear Butt Rock, you think of like horrible bands.
Yeah,
dude,
sure. Like sort of like Doom Eternal soundtrack.
Kelly, I swear to God. We're moving on.
I'm just being a dick for the sake of being a dick. I think it was a good soundtrack. I also just want to complain the fact that they only played the intro song to the first Doom for 72 hours at QuakeCon right next to us, and it drove me insane. I never want to hear it again. I never want to hear it again. It's awful. It was awful. But again, I'll say Doom Eternal had a really good soundtrack. I can't speak to Final Fantasy Remake. I haven't played any of it.
I don't give a fuck. Dude, that game, like I have a friend who covers so he goes by the Night Sky Prince on YouTube. Went to high school with this guy. We talk frequently, but he covers Final Fantasy and like Square Enix stuff and JRPGs in general. And he made a post on his his Facebook page to like everybody that was saying like, hey man, like I don't want to cover part 2. Like I'm so burnt out on the Final Fantasy shit. Like the game came out and like it was so hyped, and then it just became like a whisper. Like nobody really talked about it much. Like nobody, like I don't know. It just like I felt like the court of public opinion really shifted on that game after people had like more time with it.
Yeah, it seemed like they just stretched out the narrative a really long time. And then changed a lot of weird shit that didn't need to be changed, I guess, story-wise. I don't know. I haven't played the original one or this one, so I have no idea.
Yeah, same here. Same here. I mean, I've played like the first 5 hours of the PS1 game, but that's like nothing. That game's on like 17 discs.
Like 4 times, and it's just boring to me.
If
it was on the Switch, I'd probably love it. Or I mean, it is on the Switch, but if the port was good, I would love it. But maybe I don't know. It seems like it's one of those things where
it's
like
so antiquated at this point. Like it hasn't aged well very much at all.
Like I've never watched really The Walking Dead, but I feel like I would never get into it if I'd watched it now. Like I just don't think I'd care. and I feel the same way about that game.
Best audio design went to The Last of Us Part 2. Performance was Laura Bailey. Abby. That's they wanted to upset some people there.
I know. I was questioning that, but she apparently did a great job. I mean, I don't know. It seems like she did a good job.
Oh no,
I have no idea.
Last of Us 2, like, we're gonna talk Game of the Year in the next couple weeks at some point, and I got a lot to say about that game because it was from before we started doing this. But I found that game phenomenal, and there's the thumbs down that we're getting on the video right there for me saying I liked The Last of Us Part 2.
From what I've seen of it, it seems great, and like they're really trying some stuff. And I mean, it's the same thing I have with Cyberpunk. I think narratively is it's just like they're here to tell you this very specific story, whether you like that story or not. And that I can always commend that because it's the way you should do it. You shouldn't be Ubisoft.
Tell me why I haven't played yet, but I do like those games, the Don't Nod games. Like
oh sure. Yeah, wait, I need to look that one up real quick because it sounds really familiar, but I don't think
they did Life is Strange. I mean, it looks like a Life is Strange. I haven't played it yet, but it's on Game Pass.
It's on. Yeah, I was about to say it's on Game Pass, right?
Yeah, it looks good. I'll probably end up trying it after I'm done with Cyberpunk. We'll see. Best ongoing game, No Man's Sky, which we didn't even bring up in the discussion about Cyberpunk, but you hear a lot of echoed sentiments about No Man's Sky. And then best indie game, Hades.
Well, and that's the thing I'll say too is like they launched that game fucking super busted, and in the same, it's actually the closest similarity to this game. Cyberpunk again is like their marketing was all bullshit. Like all the footage was bullshit. They didn't show it on anything playing that was representative of the game. And they definitely got in trouble for it, but the blowback still wasn't near as bad as this again, because I think of just the difference there being is like again there's a version of that game that is fantastic, that some of us do have. Like it's still buggy, but there is that version out there, whereas that game was like fucked any way you looked at it. I enjoyed it, the early stages of that game, but only because I like early access stuff a lot. Not that that's how that game was presented, for sure, but I don't know. That's a whole nother discussion. We don't have to get back into this fight again.
Yeah. Best debut game, Phasmophobia. You can ask my girlfriend who's level. You can ask my girlfriend who's like level 200 something in that fucking game. Yeah, it's pretty solid.
I mean, I'd take it over Fall Guys and all the other shit. Like it's definitely more interesting than any of those.
Mobile game, Among Us. Community support, Fall Guys.
I saw that today. Among Us is going to be on the Switch.
Yes, and I'm thinking that something I was going to bring up. Did I put that down? No, I didn't. But yeah, there you go.
I would say it's coming to the Switch.
VR game, Half-Life Alyx. Hell yeah, it
Makes
is.
Sense.
Innovation and accessibility, The Last of Us Part 2. That I don't know
what is that. How does that make sense? I'm confused as to what that means.
I'd have to hear what their explanation of the award is, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because I don't know. Best action game, Hades. Action adventure game, The Last of Us Part 2. RPG, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Fighting game, MK11. Family
Best
game,
RPG
Animal Crossing.
Of that year?
Yeah, apparently.
How is Final Fantasy Remake the best RPG of last year?
Well, I mean, you got to think there wasn't way too much in the way of like RPGs that came out this year. I'll read through the rest of them real quick.
Yeah, keep going. I'm gonna look this up because
strategy game, Microsoft Flight Simulator, sports racing game. This is gonna please you. It's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2.
I know. I was thrilled by that. It makes sense.
Multiplayer,
best game of the year.
Best multiplayer game, Among Us, dude.
Well, I can tell you right now, Yakuza Like a Dragon came out this year, and that's way better than fucking Final Fantasy.
Too close to the cutoff. I think they cut it off like November.
Dude. That's too bad. Godfall. I mean,
well, real quick. So, I don't give a shit about the esports stuff, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, it's like announcers and commentators and stuff, and we don't follow any of that, so we
Yeah.
just be speaking out of our ass.
I was gonna say the best multiplayer game thing. The best part about that announcement is watching watching the developers for Among Us on this little shitty Zoom call, and they're just like, one of the girls is like reading a speech and she starts crying. It's like super endearing because those people deserve it, honestly. Like,
oh yeah, dude, absolutely. Among Us was great. It's great for what it is, and for now that it. What's the thing is, like, it just came. It's been here for 2 years, and then to have. Because you look, we were talking about it plenty of times in the beginning of this show, but you like look at the numbers, and it was basically overnight. Was after 2 years of thinking nothing's really happening with your game, and then one night it's like 600,000 people are playing it. You're like, what the fuck just happened? And that's that's crazy. That's a windfall that just doesn't generally happen for people.
For sure.
And yeah, they did great.
What other RPGs, real quick, before we move to the announcements?
Well, what were, because I'm having trouble actually finding something listed, but I'm trying to see what it was competing against, and that would give me a better idea.
RPGs of 2020: Wasteland 3, Mountain Blade, Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, well, that's a better game, I could tell you that already.
Genshin Impact.
It's arguably a worse game. That's that. Persona 5 Royale.
Well, this is wrong because Biomutant has not released.
No,
fuck?
it has. That's why I was saying when I was looking at this list, I was like, this is not accurate either.
Well, I kind of know what didn't actually release.
Let's see. Game 1 RPG of the year 2020. The announcement took place during the blah, blah, blah. The Game Awards Best Role-Playing Game nominees also feature Genshin Impact, Wasteland 3, Persona 5 Royale. Definitely better than this. Like, sorry, but it's definitely better. If you're talking about RPG, if you're talking about an actual role-playing story game,
yeah, but
definitely
also
better than fucking Final Fantasy VII Remake.
It almost feels like. I know Royale has a bunch of additions, but it also kind of feels like a deluxe edition of a game. It's like if they gave Pikmin 3 Game of the Year, but it's like a re-release of that game. Like, it just feels a little weird.
Yeah, sure. But this is a remake of a game that came out. This is a fourth of a game that came out 13 or more years ago. So like, what are we arguing here? You know what I mean?
I get you. It's just there was significant work done, whether you not like it or not, to Final Fantasy Remake that makes it like a significant. It's a significantly different.
I know.
Game.
I'm just fucking around.
Yeah.
But I think Persona and Yakuza are both better games than that game.
Yeah. Well,
granted,
we'll see next
I say
year
that
when they'll
having not
be
played it
qualified,
at
I guess.
all. Yeah. Well, I haven't played any of the Final Fantasy games, so I'm just talking completely out of my asshole. So anywho.
Yeah. We'll just roll through some announcements. I'll play some video that IGN has real quick. These are some of the games they announced. Loop Hero looks really cool. This looks like it's up your alley, dude. This looks like a game that you would be really
I haven't
into.
actually seen this. I don't know what this is.
So you kind of have like this endless loop dungeon, and you like build like stuff on the map and resources. It seems like a roguelike. You have some like inventory and like almost deck management in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, now this is a game I need to know if it's on the Switch. Cause
I mean, I imagine it's coming to Switch. It's a Devolver Digital title, indie. I'm certain it's coming to the Switch. But yeah, that one actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm into that one. I would play that. Actually, this game looks kind of rad. I was seeing this one.
Yeah, I don't quite know what this is. I mean, it has. I mean, I hate to say it, but
it's Breath of the Mario Galaxy, dog.
Anybody dangling off of a glider and climbing up sides of mountains, I mean, I just can't help but compare it to a certain. I can't put my finger on I think it's like Genshin Impact did something like that. I don't know.
Well, Genshin did, Craftopia did.
Windbound I just can't remember. I can't remember what other big game did stuff like
Breath
that.
of the Wild. Yeah, it was probably Breath of the Wild.
Was that a game, dude?
Yeah, it was one of those. It's a small indie developer. I think it's Nintendo or something like that.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. I need to try that. Yeah, it looks good.
This just looks silly and weird and interesting. I don't know. I'm into it.
It kind of reminds me of what was that book we had to read when we were children or when we were in high school? Like Kids Stuck on an Island. Like, I wonder if it's going to kind of have that vibe.
You talking about I was about to say Robinson Crusoe, but that's
it's got old Piggy in it.
Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies. That's right. It seems like it's going to kind of have like a stranded island vibe.
Yeah,
that's what I get out of it.
I don't think it's going to pan out the same
No.
But
I'm just saying it looks like a bunch of kids and their families like possibly shipwrecked or something. They haven't like dove into it. But that's the vibe I get from it anyway.
How you say that?
Chia, dude. Chia. You say it like Chia, dude.
Yeah. Okay.
Sea of Solitude. So this is really weird. Sea of Solitude came out and it was like met with decent, like lukewarm reception. Like people liked it, but it also seemed
was it Xbox exclusive? Yeah.
No, this one was. I think this was released in a couple different places. But what's weird is that like the director's cut of it, like the complete, like they've added new story, they've added new gameplay, is only coming to Switch. That's what's kind of odd about it.
So they can win Game of the Year next year, dude.
Hey, dude. There you go.
I wanted to play this game. I remember seeing it and thinking it was really captivating, but never actually getting to play it.
I just remember Abby on the Beastcast talking about it, and like she was, she's typically a fan of these kind of like narrative-driven games, but at the same time, this kind of came out at the same time as a lot of those other games that were like trying to, like, it seemed like there was a lot of depression-themed games.
Yeah, there was.
But apparently, like
this year.
Yeah, a little too early on that one.
Yeah, pulled the trigger.
But the director of the game came out and said like this captures what their original like vision for the story was. So I guess like they've had more time to add to it. So who knows? I've had interest in playing this. It looks interesting.
Yeah, it always seemed cool.
Shady
they showed
part
gameplay
of
Nier Replicant.
I actually haven't seen this. I guess this already came out.
Watercolor Sadness. Kind of cool. The game. Sorry.
Yeah.
I like this art style though. This like perspective is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea what this game is, but it's a focus game, and you love focus games.
Well, it's half of a good game always at a focus game. It's guaranteed 50% of a good game no matter what.
Oh, it's now it's now available. Got it. So I wonder what people are. Okay, it's on Steam, it's on Xbox, it's on all those platforms out there.
50 people gave it 8 out of 10.
Single player kind of puzzle indie game. Yeah, it looks neat. I like it.
Yeah, it seems like it's meshing with shadows. There's like another game that, there's like quite a few games that do that, but
yeah. How old am I? Dude, I'm
15.
15.
Give me a real age.
Nier Replicant, I think it's like a remake of the first game. Like it's like ground up like gameplay remake to kind of bring it in line with Nier Automata, I think is what it is.
This does look more familiar than it looks more in line with that original game, but I could have sworn this was like another game.
I'd have to Nier Replicant. Yeah, I'm not putting that whole thing in there. Nier Replicant was on the PS3, I think.
Game.
Yeah, PS3, Xbox 360.
Well, that's original Nier, but I'm saying Replicant specifically.
Well, what I'm saying is like I think like I could pull up footage of the old one, but I'm fairly certain that Nier Replicant is like basically an update of that original game. Updated version of Nier Replicant previously only released in Japan.
Oh, okay. But that's a game we didn't get at all.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Well, I didn't know that. Fine. I thought it came out in America, but I guess I was wrong.
Well, we had original Nier. That's why I was saying I think these are different technically.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. I thought it was like the original Nier.
No. Because that game does look quite a bit different than it's like completely different than the Automata, but I'll watch that on my own time, though. That's cool. I didn't know they put out a gameplay footage. I did sign up for the beta of this game, though.
Yeah, I didn't. actually see this one whenever I was watching it.
It seems like dogfights on dragons multiplayer game. Seems pretty cool though. You can Steam has a beta page up that you can sign up for.
Okay.
Because I think it's coming relatively soon, even if you're not. But yeah, it just seems like dogfighting but dragons, which seems fun to me. I'd be into it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Although we've had a substantially bad history of people trying to make dragon video games. Like I don't know why they have a trouble with it.
I know we watched this.
Come on, dog.
I know we watched this. I know we watched this before the show, dude. But I'm just gonna talk over it because we're not playing any kind of.
Is Big Enix giving you put money in your pocket that I'm not seeing? Is that what's happening here?
Dude, I'm just real horny for Smash Brothers. Like I get the controversies and like we could talk. Like there's still news coming out about all the Melee stuff and whatever. But dude, like, fuck, man.
Did they do this just to appease that?
No. I mean, guys, this had to have been on the slates.
I don't know, because we got Steve like not that long ago.
Well, the other thing is that like I don't know. There's like a funny juxtaposition of like, oh, by the way, Sephiroth. Dun, 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 dun. This is where you hear one winged angel. Like
here's where you hear copyright infringement.
And
here's where you hear copyright claims.
He goes Sephiroth, and then this happens. It was
cool
dude.
That
so cool, dude.
They spoke in Japanese though. That was kind of
fun. But
makes him seem cooler than he is. Anyway, go ahead.
Fuck, what were we actually talking about?
The stuff with them, like their tournaments, Melee tournament, all that.
Oh, yeah.
About something different.
Oh, no. The juxtaposition of like, so there's YouTubers that were like, oh, fuck Nintendo, they fucked the Melee scene. And then there's like those thumbnails of them going like looking at the... Whoa!
Yeah,
it's like,
course.
It's so weird.
Because fucking almost all YouTubers are bullshit, dude. The more I've been on here, the more I'm realizing that they all... Dude, it's the same shit, okay? Again, not to bring up Cyberpunk again, but we're going to do it anyway. But it was a lot of them being like, when the game was first coming out, how much they loved it. And then after all this criticism comes out, how much they're shitting on it. It's the same fucking thing. They just ride the SEO, and it's annoying.
Dude, that's why... So, if y'all don't watch Donkey out there, his latest experimental fucking content has been so good.
I hate it, but I love that he's doing it. Like, it really is just fantastic.
Dude.
And if it seems really stupid, it is really stupid. And that's, I think, the whole point. Because a lot of this
Because his videos immediately jumped up to trending. He tweeted a picture that was just like a message from YouTube that was like, oh, keep your content up. You're reaching trending more than you ever have. And it's like, yeah, okay.
What a fucking joke. Good on him, dude. I'm glad he's crushing it. He's always been one of the best, and he stays the best.
This is... Yes, they're bringing Sephiroth to the shit, man. It's exciting. Sephiroth looks very fucking powerful from all the gameplay footage that they showed in this little trailer. He's like got reach like fucking nobody. Like I thought Min Min had some reach, but Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah, I still haven't played her either. I don't know what she's up to.
Yeah, dude, I still play Smash like multiple times a week. It's the game I love to hate. It's so bad that how much I hate that game, but I still come back to it.
That's how I feel about Rocket League, though.
God, dude.
That's one where I play quite a bit, but I hate, but I can't get away from.
I was honestly hoping for like Sora or like Dante or something, because like Sora's, and I think we talked about this on the podcast, but I think Sora's like a long shot because it's really a Disney character when it boils down to it. Yeah. And Disney, they're not opening Nintendo World at Disney theme parks. They're opening them up at Universal. So, and
they're not going to have their kids' character fight in a fist fight other people because he's a child and... it's for Kingdom Hearts is for children. You got to remember that it's for complete babies. Yeah. So
it's only for babies. Only for babies.
I'm sorry, I'm way too heated today for some reason.
Hey, getting out there, dude. You're coming at it.
I'm getting a little raw today. No, I will say Sephiroth is definitely cool. I would have preferred a more interesting character though, to be honest. Like something just a bit more outlandish than
people were saying, like Kiryu from Yakuza and stuff. And
fuck yeah, dude, that could have been way cooler. Cool.
Have him switch between his beast mode and his breakdance attacks.
Dude, I mean, Fortnite got Master Chief and Kratos. What's up, dog?
That was the other thing, is that like there was so I guess before we move on to this one, there was a lot of speculation that at the Game Awards they were going to announce Samus in Fortnite as well, and that they were going to do some kind of Fortnite thing in Smash. There's still room for that, but at the same time, like,
what character goes into Fortnite? There goes into Smash from Fortnite. The banana costume?
Jonesy. He's the character in lore right now.
I would love it if they just put in a character that was just a gun, and it would just turn into other guns, and it could build walls and then shoot each other.
I'll just show this real quick. Have you seen what Smash 64 Remix by any chance?
No, I don't know what that is.
So Smash 64 Remix is like it's like a fan driven like mod for Smash 64. And they introduced like a pretty fucking wacky character. This is it right here.
Do they do this for every episode? Is like a new character that they put in or something?
Yeah, for every update for the game, yeah, they put in like some kind of new character. It's mostly been like them remaking characters from the newer games, but this is very out of left field.
Well, isn't that from Banjo-Kazooie?
No, that's the angry piano in the Boo level on Mario 64.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's a great character.
It's just fucking dumb.
It's amazing. Where's he at?
Dumb.
Okay, actual Nintendo dude. Everybody's here. Where's Mad Piano?
Yeah, where's the Mad Piano?
He can grip the ledge. Nothing else matters.
Yeah. This mod's super impressive. You should go watch some footage. There's people running tournaments of it and stuff.
This is cool. I would love to see what Nintendo's too afraid to do. I would love to see cowardice out of a big company like that.
Yeah.
New Perfect Dark, I guess.
Yeah. Not made by Rare. It's made by what's the leg of Xbox called, where it's like called the Foundry or something. It's like their internal
studios.
Something. No, it's not 343.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's like their internal development team.
Is it who did Gears Tactics?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I forget what exactly they call it, but
well, maybe there's hope, because Rare had a chance and they didn't really too hot with that 360 one.
They're also focused on like Sea of Thieves, also that like that other new game they're developing. So
Deer Game,
who the fuck knows? Yeah, Deer Game. I think it's called Everwild or something like that.
Fantasy Woods. I want to play that game. I want to see what that game is. I just want to know what it is. That game looks really cool.
By the way, I guess while we're talking about this, a couple weeks ago you mentioned that Perfect Dark Zero fucking sucks.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's not a great game. At the time, it wasn't great either, but at the same time, it's...
You're talking about the 360 one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. It's a bad game.
Yeah.
It's a bad video game, Christian.
What did you remember really hating about it?
Well, I remember the AI being pretty piss poor. I think the general shooting didn't feel very good. I think, if I remember right, it was trying to be a stealth game also, which didn't really quite pan out.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think the art direction was also bad. Like, if you're comparing it to the first game, which, again, was... I mean, the fidelity is, like, leaps and bounds ahead of it, but I think the first game was, like, more interesting and unique and kind of in its own wheelhouse, and that one just kind of became a generic shooter, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. It wasn't... Like, the original Perfect Dark had, like, you could play as, like, a weird alien and some other crazy shit going on in there. All the weapons were really strange. It was like if you like GoldenEye, but you wanted, like, really interesting, like, sci-fi shit added to it. Like, it just seemed... I don't know. I think the thing is, it was a generic, boring shooter. Like, when you compare it to, like, what the foundation of... Because to be honest, I like Perfect Dark more than I liked 007 on the original N64. And
I agree with that. Perfect Dark was like a more polished,
it's just a more interesting
like,
game.
refined. Yeah, it was more interesting to me too. And yeah, because I played some of it on Rare Replay not too long ago, and it still tries to have some of those like fundamental design choices of like the GoldenEye and Perfect Dark games of the N64, but they were also trying to like develop a brand new method of shooter, because like Halo had come out and completely changed the way shooters play on consoles. So I don't think it found a good balance, but hey, Perfect Dark, that's coming.
Sure.
Hey, real quick, do you think we should maybe take a little break and then come back, finish this up, and then get to some games? What do you think?
How many more of these are left?
There's quite a bit. We can go over the highlights just real quick.
Yeah, because I mean, most of the stuff like that. I guess we don't really have to show the footage. I mean, because people can look it up. I guess we can just really kind of announce like they're doing a new guys that did Left 4 Dead are doing a new game, which looks super interesting. I'm excited for that one.
The interesting part is that
is.
Oh, this is just the trailer, because they actually did show some gameplay at the Game Awards, and it looked really good.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
I didn't see any of that. I just saw the trailer, and the trailer was enough for me to go. This seems like enough like Left 4 Dead, but mechanically looks interesting enough to be different. Like, again, that's a lot from a trailer, but...
Yeah, I do want to kind of show it just real quick.
Why don't we just do that and then call it? Because the other stuff is like... I feel like the rest of them are more... like not on the horizon stuff, more like... Because it was like, what? Dragon Age, which is still a ways off.
The Dragon Age thing... Yeah. Dragon Age
seems
thing
farther along, because the last time they showed it, they were like, check out, our developers are working on the most primitive version of Dragon Age you've ever seen. So, because they were showing like way too early footage of that game for like people at large. Mm-hmm. Like, I obviously know what was happening, and a lot of people that follow games totally get it, but like anybody that was just generally excited about it were like, wow, this game's not even started yet.
Yeah, I mean, this game is 100% Left 4 Dead. It's what it is. I mean, it looks like it has tighter shooting and stuff, of course.
Well, and dynamically, it already looks more interesting. It doesn't seem like... I don't know. There's something about the creatures that just... well, I don't know. It does look like a lot like Left 4 Dead with a new paint job.
Yeah, I mean... It looks good. I do want to get to the part like toward the end though, because
go ahead and skip ahead. I can watch it in my own time. Just show me the.
They're getting to it. But yeah, you have like new colossal fucking zombies that come out. Those are pretty cool. Those are even bigger than shit. Yeah, bigger than the tanks in the original game. But you can also like, if you study the footage, you can see like different like comeback zombies. Like toward the end of this, they kind of do a little montage.
I was about to say this seemed more dynamic to me than I was hesitant, but it just felt more dynamic than that game. And yeah, having that dude just rip that door off is already more emergent gameplay than what the first one ever gave you, or the second one, I guess, either of those two. So that's cool.
Yeah, it looks like a good game. Yeah, I guess I just want to quickly skim, because I feel like there was like one or two more things on here. Warhammer 40k Darktide, I'm not showing it, but fuck, I loved Vermintide too. And
yeah, I'm down for another one of those.
Yeah, it looks pretty great.
That one bicycle game looked pretty... Oh, actually, that I want to play, because Dungeons of Endless I really liked, and this seems like some weird... I don't know what it is, because it's not by the same developer or publisher, but it definitely seems like it's in that same world as Dungeons of Endless. I just don't know what it is, but it's like a roguelike top-down shooter.
Yeah, it looks like more twin stick than it actually does look like a Diablo or...
Well, because the original Dungeon of Endless was like, it was almost like a tower defense game. Like, you had a team of 3 or 4 that you would bring in, and then you would power a room with energy, and then enemies couldn't spawn in the rooms that were powered, but any ones that weren't, they could come from. So it was a really interesting game. I really liked that game. So I'm interested to see what that is.
Crimson Desert? Yeah, this thing... fuck, I wish I had more time. But this thing looks cool. It just looks very... Like, I don't know. The footage when they were showing it on stream didn't look great. It looked like very bad frame rates and stuff, but...
I just
It's
can't
like
believe they're already putting out another Assassin's Creed game. We just got one.
It honestly looks like Black Desert in a way, just like maybe with a little bit more refined combat, possibly.
Sure. Yeah, I haven't seen any of this stuff. I didn't even know they actually had announced any new games at the Game Awards until like 2 days ago. I've been so sucked into Cyberpunk, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Warzone, I don't. Oh, dude.
That's what we missed. Diesel 2.
God, I don't want to go through the whole thing, but yeah, Vin Diesel's in Arc 2. When I was watching this, I was like, what the fuck is this? And then they showed Arc. I was like, oh, God. Talk about a game I'll fucking never play. Like, I just...
Yeah, I mean, I really like dinosaurs, though. That's the problem. So I get pulled into basically any game that tries to have dinosaurs in it. I don't like Ark, though. I've tried so many times to play that game, and I just don't like it. But
hey, will you play Arc 2 now that Vinny D's in the game, dude? Are you going to play it?
Did you ever play the other games he was in?
I played Butcher's Bay when I was like a kid.
It's pretty good.
Chronicles of Riddick was awesome.
Yeah, Chronicles of Riddick. That's what I was trying to think of. Those are pretty good. So, I mean, look, if he's not interviewing a woman he finds attractive, Vin Diesel's okay, generally, and he just put out that hit that we all love, that music, and maybe that's in here too.
Yeah,
you know.
I feel like I do. Yeah, what a hit. Feel like I do.
I can't remember the words of that song now. It's been so out of my memory. I'd almost
if you've heard any like mid like early 10s like fucking EDM music, yeah, it probably sounds like all that shit.
You know, the thing about this too, and now that I'm watching it again, is like I initially saw the dinosaur and didn't see Vin Diesel, and I was like, oh shit, did they announce a Turok? No. It's Arc 2.
I mean, how cool would it be if it was Turok and it was Vin Diesel as Turok? I would play that.
If I saw that iguana acclaim thing show up on the screen real quick, I'd be like, oh, fuck, here we go.
Here we go. Yeah.
I mean, if they're just trying to make a spiritual successor to Turok, then I'll take that. Because already this doesn't look at all like Arc. Like, I don't know what. I guess I would assume it's just in the world of Arc. It's weird that they would call it Arc 2, but who knows?
Could be more story experience. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's like that original game, but it has a story element to it.
Oh wait, there's an animated series was also announced.
Yes, yeah, they
featuring an original story. Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, there's
God,
like
they
a whole
so much
thing to
fucking
Arc.
Money.
Yeah.
This came out 3. Today. That came out this
Outriders.
Morning. No. Fall Guys Season 3.
Okay.
It came out this morning.
Cool. They're making
that Evil Dead
game
looks cool. I saw a little bit of that.
The art style for this Ghost of Goblins remake looks awesome. It looks like old medieval art. Like, I don't know, I kind of love it. It looks pretty fucking wacky.
Why not? Yeah,
Yeah. Cool shit.
I remember these games being fucking really tough though.
Oh, I'm sure that hasn't changed.
I'm sure they're ready to get people upset another generation. Yeah.
Yeah.
It already looks frustrating as fuck. I'll probably never play this game. I've always liked it, but it just.
Yeah.
I already see myself just being angry with the choices I've made there. So.
I do not blame you at all. Yeah, the developers of like Dead Space announced a new game.
Oddworld's coming to 2021.
Game. Yeah, fucking weird. Weird.
Very strange. But it looks like Dead Space, so I don't know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, they showed a new gameplay trailer for Rise.
Oh, an upcoming demo?
Yeah, it comes out in January 2021.
Oh, come on. Give it to me on Christmas, dog. Give me a real treat, Nintendo.
Yeah, well, there you go. I wonder if
wait, when is the game out again? Because it's like either February or March.
It comes out
right?
March. I think it comes out March.
Yeah.
There you go, bud. That's a little after Christmas surprise for you, I guess. I'm very interested to play the demo of it. Because I feel like it's gonna, like, looking at it, it looks like a Monster Hunter game, but it also looks like they're gonna do some cool new stuff with it. Like, it doesn't look like a one-to-one of those original, like, Monster Hunter games. I think it's going to take some ideas from World and kind of join the two worlds together in a way.
Oh, 100%. No, I mean, to me, this looks more like World than it does any of the older games. It just happens to be on, like, a less powerful system.
Yeah.
That's
where
really
I think
all.
the marriage of, like,
mechanically speaking, it looks a lot more like World than any of the other ones ever did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they announced Master Chief Fortnite. Just Cause is coming to mobile. Okay, weird.
Wait, what? What is Just Cause mobile?
I don't actually know. I didn't actually see this.
Or are they making it a battle royale game? Is that what's happening? No? Explosive campaign. What is this?
Just Cause... Is it Just Cause 1, or is it a brand new game?
I don't think this is... No, that's definitely not Just Cause 1.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, it's like isometric. Okay, interesting. Yeah, let's move on from that.
Just give us fucking online versions of the ones that already exist, you cowards. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you let other people make it. But still. Because the mods for... Dude, playing Just Cause, like, 3 online with people is fucking bananas. It's some of the most fun I've ever had with an online game that was never meant to be online.
Yeah.
They
actually officially supported that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Bring it over to the 4th game, and then don't make whatever you were making right there. Don't do that, whatever that is.
Yeah, and
no, I mean, I'll try it. I'll get, give them the benefit, but...
Yeah, last thing they showed was Mass Effect, the new Mass Effect game trailer. You ready for that?
We'll see. But yeah.
I kind of want to play the Legendary Edition of the original games, and then,
Well, before this, yeah, definitely. Because it's been so far.
I think that'll get me in the mood for more Mass Effect.
Well, it's been such a long time since I played through those original 3 that I need a refresher if I'm going to go into a game that continues that story in any way.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was referencing Mass Effect earlier today, though, because that was that game, and then Cyberpunk is probably the 2 games I can think of that have really had characters that I cared enough about to, like, actually care what happens to any of them in any capacity, really. Not to say that there hasn't been some other ones here and there, but, like, overall, like, every character I came to, I was, like, at least mostly invested in what they had going on.
Mm-hmm. I was always interested in the alien characters rather than, like, the human characters of Mass Effect.
Dude, Tali Zora was my dog, always.
Yeah. Tali's nice. I honestly romanced Garrus because you could. Dude, Garrus is awesome. I love that character. So cool, dude. I was in Mass Effect 2 when you're like, oh, there's an assassin taking dudes out in, like, the slums, and then you find out it's Garrus.
I romanced Rex because I wanted to know what it felt like to be torn apart. I was like, I wanted to be Kroganed up. Krogged up from the flow up. You know what I mean? That's what people always say all the time. Still to this day, all the time. They always say it. They always did. You don't need to check it.
Never stopped. Well, yeah, I guess we'll take a little break and then come back and spend a couple minutes talking about Cyberpunk.
And I'll try and be nicer when I come back too, guys. I promise. As a whole. I'll try and be better. All right, everybody, welcome back.
Welcome to the Game Zone.
To the Gamer Zone on gamer.net at game.com. It's game o'clock. And I think everybody's aware.
Video games.
Yeah.
You know what time it is.
/ jump in. It's the best place to play, or whatever at Microsoft says.
So, we're just, so I don't want to get way too into Cyberpunk stuff, but in general, I guess we're playing the game. We're still trucking through it, still liking it, decent amount. I'm just going to play some of this bug footage while we talk about it. Don't worry, people won't hear that.
Yeah, I'm going to just quickly say that I played Pokemon Cafe Mix.
Oh, okay.
And all it is like, it kind of is a mix between like, what is it? Like, what does that get? It's kind of Candy Crush. mixed with Sushi Striker a little bit, but it's a completely touchscreen game, and you just drag Pokemon to like get a combo and or.
It looks like those Disney Tsum Tsum games. If you ever played that.
Oh, I haven't. No.
Essentially, yeah, the same thing.
But yeah, you're just comboing stuff. I mean, it's a fun thing to pass the time with. There's nothing really like super engaging here. I assume at some point there'll be a wall where they want some money because it's a free experience and it's a phone game on the Switch, more or less.
Oh, it's on the Switch. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought this was like a mobile game.
No, it's on the Switch. But yeah, it's like so. There, you're just like if you combo near those sugar cubes, they break, and then. It's there's power-ups and other stuff that you can either pay for or unlock by just playing the game, stuff like that. I mean, it's okay, it's fine. It's kind of in line with every of those Pokemon games they've made, like whatever that Shuffle, all the free mobile games, I guess, that they've put out.
It'll make money. It'll do just fine.
It's cute. It runs well. It does what it's saying it does. So I don't know. Nothing too crazy. I just was playing it a little bit today in the interim of Cyberpunk business. So
yeah, and then
that's that game.
We also played Hunt Showdown a bit more.
Yeah, super fun. I really like Hunt a lot more than I ever thought I would. But now having played it with a person, it's really fun. And
yeah,
they did an update today.
I'll say I think on Steam right now, or it was the last time I checked, but I think it was $20 when they launched the new update. Okay, it went back up. But yeah, it was $20 over the weekend, I'm pretty sure. If it goes down again for the Christmas sale, I highly recommend that you pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, we've had no trouble getting in games like immediately. People definitely are still playing this game quite a bit. There is... I can look now, I guess, and see what the actual... Yeah, about 5,000 people playing it at the moment. It's pretty good. Pretty good player base. It's fun. It's hard. It's really difficult. But it feels...
super rewarding, though. It's very rewarding. Like, we had a really good game the other night where we did a bounty and then... So somebody on the other side of the map finished a bounty.
Yeah, we did.
We finished ours, and we were just hanging out waiting for the monster tokens to drop. And we had people sneaking up on us.
They came after us.
Fuck. Yeah. So what we did was, in this big building, I was just like, dude, fuck it. Let's slip out the back, try to just, get out. They kind of caught on to us because we made a huge distraction by shooting some explosive barrels. They essentially came running right at us. We killed them, got their bounties, got the fuck out. Shit was a good time.
Yeah. Well, we had one oppressor at the extraction, but he didn't know what he was up to, and I think he was by himself. But yeah, it was that was a great game. It was a good feeling. It's that feeling you get when you win any battle royale. But to be fair, we win basically 50% of the games we play. It seems like basically about half of the ones usually.
We do a pretty good
job. It's really
fun,
though. It's a really interesting battle royale game if you are looking for that, but don't want the traditional battle royale. And maybe 100 people is too many. 12 seems good. It seems fun.
Yeah, smaller map, smaller objective focus. They added in the new update. There's more looting options and stuff. Monsters can drop permanent perks. It looks like for your characters,
which I think is needed, and I think it adds another layer to the gameplay of the risk reward of staying still or scourging or fighting the other creatures because they can drop overall perks for your character that you take with you and stuff. Which is I think it definitely needs. It gives you more of an opportunity to get loud with stuff that isn't a person to kind of give your position away and other things. So, yeah, I think it definite. I'm excited to check some out this weekend so we can actually see what that looks like.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, other than that, you already know what we're playing.
You already know. I will say going forward, we'll talk about bugs now, but we will probably dip in and out of story stuff as this happens. So quick hot news, hot take. The UK politicians call for making the resale of goods purchased using an automated bot an illegal activity.
Perfect. perfect.
That's the UK though, not our stupid ass country, but the UK is at least making a push for this dumb shit that happens.
Oh yeah, hopefully it's a precedent. Hopefully it's absurd.
Yeah,
it is
that would be
absolutely
cool
absurd.
because it should be illegal and it's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, so Cyberpunk is a pretty good game. Here's some bugs though, because
I was just gonna play some footage of some bugs that have, like, this is like a compilation of them or whatever. But to some degree, we're probably gonna mention some stuff that happens here. It's good to see Dan show up in a montage.
Oh, my stunt double. Yeah. But no, it is good to it's been wild. Like again, as the game progresses, I think the bugs become more prominent, or at least like in more in the quest stuff than they do at the outset of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely seen. I was talking to one person that was smoking in a chair, and she kept standing up and sitting back down and standing, like teleporting up and then smoking and then doing this. The hologram look on Johnny has been getting like pretty annoying to me because it just keeps cutting his head off, and it's at somewhat monumental scenes that happens continually. And it does detract from.
I still have like props getting stuck in the air and like major cutscenes and.
I haven't seen so much of that on my end, but I have. I mean, it's definitely happened, but it's not been near as bad. This stuff is crazy shit I've not had happen.
So what I have had happen is that, like, so have you been driving and like a line of cars just explode? Because I'm fairly certain like the cars are either supposed to already look exploded when you drive past them because it's a bunch of like gangsters around like destroyed vehicles. But sometimes you'll like ride up on like 5 cars and they all explode at the same time, and then NPCs are just standing there with guns.
No, I have not had that one.
I
have had well, I've noticed every time I summon a motorcycle, it always comes in a wheelie, or like it never seems to stop. It's something with its brakes don't work right.
It does like
I will say too,
or whatever, yeah.
And this is a nitpick, but for me personally, it is a bummer. You can't do wheelies on the motorcycles, and for driving around and ramping shit and just having a fun old time, it really takes away from that, and it's a bummer because.
That's one thing I noticed is that, like, versus GTA, where you have, like, a lot of different avenues for fucking around, this game, like, in the world, doesn't really like you doing that.
No, because there's not really, like, jumps or ramps or anything either to just drive around. You know, there's not any of that goofy around the world. This just guy just hovering in with his ass cheeks was really getting me. Yeah, I was going to mention this, actually, because in the desert especially, I notice it. Like, if you're going towards traffic, there'll be a line of cars, but they just disappear as you get closer to them. It'll be like a bunch of headlights, and then they just evaporate. I saw this one, too, actually. Yeah, yeah, the bugs are, I mean, they're prominent, and it's, like, around every corner. They're pretty difficult. I would say completely unavoidable. Like there's nothing that you could do to make these not happen. It's pretty excessive. Like it's really excessive. I honestly can't think of a open world game that has had anywhere near the amount of problems this game has had.
It's just so frustrating because when, I guess, spoilers now. Here's the timestamp.
Yeah, let's start spoilers now. Because when everything's firing, dude, there's nothing else like this game as far as the space goes.
Yeah, exactly. Like the whole like getting into the net with the Voodoo Boys, and like that whole quest line was like pretty good. Like
that's why I texted you about it. I was like, you gotta call Mr. Hands as soon as you get home, like because it's something that's like it adds a whole nother level to what's happening that it was just not there before. It's a And again, it fleshes out Johnny in a way better, like not better light, but you get more of Johnny as a person. just being, you know, a super egotistical kind of jackass constantly. Like he's just a person that and this is something too that I've seen people complain about, is just like the issue with player agency and not feeling like you have a choice in some things. And I do get that to some extent. I think they're meaning more of like the decisions that maybe V make or whatever. But narratively speaking, like you do literally have a person in your head that wants control of your body, and he is making choices for you. Mm-hmm. Or if not for you, it is at least hinted at continually that the choices you're making may be influenced by him, whether you're aware that they are or not. And
let's say that's the thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's the thing I think the game has done a good job of so far, is that, like, me personally, I've actually, like, grown to, like, at least in my character's mind, grown to trust Johnny in a way, because I feel like he has a similar common goal to what our character has, because, you know, we have plenty of reason to have it out for Asaka as well. Especially going the corpo route, because you work for Asaka. And
do you still work for them the whole time, or are you like fired or something, or like what's the? So
essentially, you attempt to do a job for your boss, and like he's like this is when I mentioned in our 2-hour thing that like he just gives you like a stack of cash, and he's like, you know, he gives you a chip. It's like, go fuck this woman over. She's like dicking us around, and then you go to do that. And then you get, like, caught by other agents, and you essentially get, like, ousted from Asaka. And then that's when, like, you kind of...
When do you run into Jackie, like, in that story?
So, Jackie... So, you go... It's, like, after you're... So, you go to Jackie because you're like, okay, I got this assignment. Jackie's the one I should go to because he can help me... like get what I need. He's like street smart. He's like trying to make a name for himself, doing like, you know, like, you know, being a like a merc essentially. But you've been friends with him for a while, and that's kind of what they establish, is that, like, you know, he's been a friend of yours through life, at least in the corporate role, and then through you getting ousted from the corporation, he's essentially like, oh, this is where your life really begins. And then it fast forwards, like, I think a year, and you're, like, doing odd jobs with Jackie.
Merc work and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting, yeah, because that is definitely not how you meet him in the Nomad route, even a little bit.
Yeah.
That's cool, though.
And that's the thing I will say also, is that, like, a big complaint that I heard is that, like, the prologue, like, your backstory stuff is kind of like, you know, you don't have a lot of agency there, and like those decisions don't really, like, the path you take doesn't really matter in the long run. But as I'm getting deeper in the game, I'm starting to get some side quests that are tailored to people knowing that I worked for the corporation. Like, I got a message from a former, like, coworker at Asaka that's like, hey, I want to fuck this lady over. If you get this message, it means I'm fucking dead. But I know you can finish the job. And there's been like a couple other instances of like, at least quests maybe playing out a little differently because I'm corporate.
Well, yeah, I haven't had anybody from Asaka contact me outside of Goro and the priestess. I can't think of her name now, but the one how far into Goro have you gotten, I guess?
Are you talking about Hana or Takamura? Are you talking about
Saburo's like right-hand man, the guy?
Yeah.
How far have you gotten with him?
I gotten pretty. So where I'm at now is I did the parade and I fought Oda.
Okay.
And then his like hideout got attacked and blew up, and so it's kind of up in the air. Like, is he okay? Like, what's happened to him, because like after that you fall through the floor, and then Johnny kind of wakes you up and is like, we got to get the fuck out of here.
Okay. Yeah, I was making sure you'd done all that. That's because that does lines up with my stuff too.
Yeah, right now I'm like I'm on the step of that quest to go talk to her at Embers. So that's like the next thing.
That's where I'm at. I've stopped that right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done that yet because I have, for some reason it very much feels like a lot of the stuff is coming together, and I feel like if I don't do the other stuff, I won't have certain options there.
Exactly, because
is the impression I've got. I don't know how accurate that is, but it feels like that's the case.
Well, you and The Witcher 3 also did this. So, like, depending on who you help out through the course of The Witcher 3, like, in the final act of the game, they'll, like, do certain things in the story, or, like, you'll have decisions to make of whether or not you, like, have people help you or assist you. And so if you've, like, done a lot of the major side content, like, those characters show up later. So the thing with, like, you and I did
Mass
the Pan
Effect
Am.
was similar, too.
Yeah, of course. But you and I did the Pan Am stuff, and at the end, they're like, if you ever need anything, like, our entire clan is here for you.
Dude, I'm waiting for her to ask for just run away together, because it keeps being implied almost that like she's just trying to get you out of there, and I'm like ready to go. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably load a save before that and deny it at some point, but initially I'm going with it.
It's weird though. Like I'll say, like,
it's not the smart choice, but
I'm not like a simp for a virtual character or anything. But it's been
there's something about it though.
I've never been I've never played a game with romance options where I feel like that invested in a relationship between my character and somebody else. It's very odd.
I know, it's super strange. I could care less about any of that stuff, and even the lead up to it, I don't care at all. But for some reason, this character specifically, I'm like 100% all in. Yeah, and it's really strange. But I think it's just a testament to their storytelling, and that was sort of something that was interesting too, because the game initially I think was supposed to be like a third-person game, and then they like retroactively took that back, and I think for the better, because I don't think playing this game in third-person continually would tell this story the right way. Even if it pulled you in to that when stuff happened, I still think the forced perspective of first person at all times really makes this story that much more impactful, I think.
There's
just something about all the interactions being that way that makes it more critical, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a better choice for them to make.
Yeah, and I've done I think I'm player level 22 and like street cred 34 or 5.
Okay.
So I've done a little bit of the gig stuff.
I've done a lot. I'm 39 and 50. So I'm like, I'm finished Street Cred a while. Actually, at 25, I think I was already done with Street Cred. And then I've just about done all the police missions in Watson, because I did find there is an achievement for doing all the police missions in each specific area. There's like one for each, so I was like, well, I might as well do this anyway, because actually something I was going to mention, if I mean, I guess it's a little late now, because if you've tuned out, if you haven't played the game, but one thing I think that is important to do is to not skip time. Like, even though you have the option to do it, I think the game is really set up to where it's in your best interest to, when it's like wait a day, you really should wait a day and go do other stuff and quote farm, I guess, for lack of a better word, but go do other things, because then that again gives you all of these other characters that just start popping up, and that's another thing too, is like getting text messages from people and stuff, and like receiving like either heartfelt or just like just the fact that these people are checking in a way that is very organic, and I think again really familiar for where our culture is currently, of just like, you don't see these people very often, if ever, but they're still thinking that you're, around and care about what you're up to, even if they can't, see you or whatever. And not just specifically quarantine. I mean, I think that goes before all this.
I just really wish that the phone conversations would kind of know when I'm in like a critical thing. Like, it doesn't play out in like critical story like cinematics and stuff, but I was like walking around with the beat cop, like, you know, doing like interrogating people or like asking questions. And in the middle of a conversation with somebody, Pan Am calls and is like, "Hey, I need your help."
Okay, I was gonna mention that actually specifically with her because hers all had came in that way, and I think I think it's meant to be a more of a character trait about her is just that she's like very sporadic and like that it is like she is a character purely based almost 100% on impulse really until she comes in contact with you, and I think that is also indicative of the way that her phone calls reach you, because I thought about that too, because I was like, I've had it happen like a few other times with like smaller characters sort of, but hers were almost always that way. It was like if something would happen, then she'd go, hey, I need this, and you're like,
well,
shit,
I've been in several positions where I'm like in the middle of like walking with somebody in the open world in a side quest, and like, you know, we're talking, and then like because I enter an area or something, like a fixer calls and is like talking over the dialogue of the person who I'm like walking with, and then like the phone conversation's just hanging out there, because if you have like, if you're engaged in something, then you can't like interact with anything until the phone conversation is over. So it's just stuck on the screen until you finish what you're doing.
I will say to that end, and obviously it's not exclusively mentioned, but you can hang back and like walk away from the person walking with you, and they'll stop and wait, and then usually redo their dialogue. Well, I mean, you think about it in real life, somebody gets a phone call, you're like, hold on, I got a call for a second. Like it could, you know, it's not. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt there.
There's also no option to like ignore calls. Like GTA, you get a call, it's like, oh fuck, I'm doing something, like fuck off. What they should have had is like, if you miss a call or you send a call to busy, then in your phone log you can see like a missed call and then call them back, and that'll start the dialogue over.
Sure,
that's how I would have approached it.
I don't disagree. I think that would help, because I mean, again, it did happen for other characters. I think specifically hers though, it seems like it is intentional more so than not with hers. The other ones, like, because like I said, I hadn't had it happen near as often with her, and I was doing stuff with other people the thing is,
I don't know if it's intentional or not, because like so the point that I got the call when I was with the cop is when we were walking back to the truck and the gang members show up, and they're like he's talking to the gang members, and they're like, oh, I thought you'd never come around here again. And then you have one of those dialogue options where like it starts counting down and like forcing you to make a decision, and like I was like listening to the phone call while,
sure,
and it was just like way too much happening at once, and I was like, well fuck, I don't know what decision to make, so I just picked one because I didn't understand anything that was happening. It just seemed like a lot at once.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't seem like that was on purpose, but
yeah, of course. But I agree with you. And that's the one thing I like about how she's written specifically, is that like she's a very like determined character. She's a very you can tell when you meet her that like she has like some reservations on decisions that she's made, but at the same time she's like too tough to admit mistakes and stuff.
Yeah, because like I said, I didn't like her initially. Like the first I don't know, half hour or so with that character, I did not. I was like, man, this person's gonna drive me nuts, and then completely turn that around. Which I think again is another. I think to the credit of the writing is just like the characters themselves. Like none of them are really that archetypal. Like they have sort of like an archetype, but none of them really. None of them are overly archetyped to where it's like you know exactly who this is the first time you talk to them. Everyone is more dynamic than that, I think, and like more just more interesting in general. But it's also like you don't generally know exactly what a character is going to do or how they're going to play something or how they're going to say what they're going to say. It's all almost always up in the air up until a point till you sort of have. Really, until you as a character get more comfortable with these people, that that sort of shifts more. But it is like, again, no one's like really over the top or anything. Everyone's very purposeful and layered in a way that I think is also pretty indicative actual people, which doesn't happen in games that often.
Yeah.
Or films either. Really, it's like, and I think you also get everyone's convictions. It's never like there's no absolutes, which is something that I think in our day and age today, we deal with way too often, is complete absolutes of like, no, it's this or it's nothing. Whereas here it's like, who knows? Like, you don't really know. There's no way to know. And you can only kind of let your judgment call you a little bit.
Sorry, my cat's on my computer.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
No, but I agree with all that. It feels like they've taken their time to make every character believable and less contrived. And the other thing that I like about the Pan Am quest, and maybe this will help some dudes out there, like to catch signals, is that
yeah, like it's sort of what we were talking about the other day with the robot brothel. Really,
yeah,
it's like yeah, because you with that, her specifically, you can't just go all in. It's just not gonna happen.
And I think not every, but a lot of games would play it differently. I think like a little less smart.
For sure.
Like, oh, I did this one quest for this lady, and here I am boning her.
Yeah.
But the thing is, at that point, you start to see a lot of her personality shine through. You start to get to know her better. You start to kind of like, at least with the position that V is in, like you're like, oh, I could see him like, you know, developing a romantic interest with this character, and then like,
well, and I will say from playing the Nomad storyline, like it goes doubly so, because like their backstories are like very similar. Like it's all about that, you know, the dynamic of nomads being a family and being, you know, out in the world this way and all that. Like,
and I like
most of my nomad options all came through talking with Pan Am because of that. I think like that's where a lot of that came into play.
That's the thing I like too, is that like you're kind of like if you're corpo, there's choices you make, and you're kind of like a city boy to these people in a way, and then like you start to kind of see their lifestyle and like, you know, how they go about things, and like, you know, they're out there robbing Militech and shit and having a good time, and it's like, you know, at one point at the very end of the quest line, she's like asking you to like basically stay with them, but you kind of explain like, hey, I got a fucking dude in my head, like I can't be doing all that.
Do it.
Yeah, but you know, I think that if they take the relationships into consideration like they did with The Witcher, I think, like, I hope anyway, that there's at least some avenue for them to have a relationship later in the game, because one other touch I liked about her character is that like when you're doing, so you're having a conversation with her on the way to the train station, you're just like talking about, oh, I had a friend once, the only person I'd ever been like super close to, and you'd like say his name, you say Jackie, and then at the end, like, you're all toasting to Scorpion, who's one of her friends that died earlier in the game, and like when you say to Scorpion, she also says like to Jackie, and I'm like, damn, this bitch remembers some shit. Yeah, it's like,
it got me. I wasn't expecting it. I really wasn't.
Cool. It's cool.
It was. Yeah, that character's really, really extremely well written. Like, I like everything about her.
That was the thing I was gonna say, is that like, if you make a shot like with her like in the middle of her storyline, she's just kind of like, hey, you know, I'm vibing, like, I don't, like, now's not the time, or like, I'm just not into it. I mean, but they kind of like later on, like, you can bring it up again and be like, hey, look, and V kind of feels like a jackass in a way, because he feels like he misread a situation, and I think like a lot of normal people have been in situations like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And there's no like fucking raging incel option where you can be like, oh, well, fuck you, why are you dressing like that? Like, you know,
well, that's why people quit the game. That's why they say it's a bad game. No, it's a
very well written character.
I mean, I will say though, I have seen people complain about the romance options and shit, and you're just like, guys, it just, not all these games have to be this game that you want. I think it's like, it's really frustrating,
because you can go press X on a character and see a sex scene if you're really if you need
it. Like, if that's what you're here for, it's there. But it's just ridiculous, because that's another thing too, is like the the fact that you can like that people are so up in arms either way about being able to design their characters' genitals, it's like it doesn't have any effect on the game at all. Like it does not matter. Like it's so irrelevant, and I mean we've even joked about it too, just like it being a horny game, and it really isn't. It's only that to sort of reflect society, like in a way, like a sort of exaggerated version of what we deal with all the time, where like every ad is some kind of, sex appeal to some extent. All the, things you see on social media and things are all, unnecessarily sexual at times, and like, in media and everything else. And it's all that. There's a really, have you, I don't know if you've done this, cause I don't know how I came on it, but have you done I think his name was, there's a quest where you have to wait for Bob, so-and-so, and he's hired you to kill someone that is in a police vehicle. So you have to chase the police vehicle.
No, I haven't done that yet. No.
Damn, dog. That one's another one that's really gonna get some people, pretty pissed, but it also is like, I don't want to say anything because that one's really good.
So my proposal is that like I think we should in January do like almost a spoiler episode, because by the time January rolls around, we'll see the end of it. I think we'll also see a lot of the same side content.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do as much of it as I can. I mean, because I'm at like 90% of Legend or whatever that is, which I think is like
the overall story.
I don't know that that's overall story. I think it's like you trying to make a name for yourself by meeting because I've done like all the street racing. I did all the boxing. I did all of.
Can you romance Claire, by the way?
Not that I came across.
Okay. Because you do the street races for... I've only done one race, but if you do all the street races for her, is there more after that, or...
It hasn't come up yet, but if you finish all that, there's a lot... You'll find out some stuff.
Okay.
About her personally and racing in general. There's some stuff there. I don't want to go into it if you haven't gotten there yet. Because it's another really good one, with some moral fiber in there for sure. I was trying to see if there's any. Have you ran across Obzo or Obzo?
No.
Oh man, that's another cool one. That guy's fucking ridiculous though. There's like well, I can't get into that if you haven't ran across him either. Or have you met Lizzie Wizzy?
No. I've pretty much done the follow-up quests that you get from characters you met in the prologue, and I've done like pretty much the story content and some of the like gigs, but I haven't done a lot of the like secondary contact quests yet. The only one that I've done so far of those are like Delamain, the mayor.
Oh, you did do the? Did you fit? What did you do with the mayor? I'm curious.
I've only done that first mission. He just called. So I started playing today. He just called me back and was like, "Hey, I need we need to work on this again or whatever the fuck." So,
okay,
I'll pick back up on that.
Lizzie's an interesting one because that one is a text message. Which the name's not going to make a difference until you meet her anyway, but it was like you basically just get a text message from a random number that says meet me at this hotel, here's the room. So you'll never get a marker for that. You have to go find the hotel and then the room. So that's one to point out. Like I won't say anything else. I have some feelings about that one anyway, but it was another interesting one where that one's like you could completely just never have that happen because there's no indication. You just get a message, and if you happen to read it and go actually look for it, you will find someone. But yeah, it's some of that stuff is pretty interesting how that's presented too. I wish I could figure out how the the Bob one came to be. I think it was from Wakado. I think she called me and gave me that one. I'm not sure though. I'm fairly sure. No, it was definitely from her, but I don't know how it came into the lore.
Is it the mission? Is it the mission where she's like, "I need you to kill somebody for me," and you're like, "What did this man do?" Because she called me and was like, "Hey, I need you to kill somebody," and you're like, "Oh, did they deserve it?" And she's like, "Well, I'm no judge, and who are you? Who are you to judge as well?" And
that may be how it started, because I got it a while back and then didn't go do it for a long time, so that could have been how that happened. But that one's another. Yeah, I won't. That one's not.
I'll do it so we can talk about it for sure.
Yeah, that one's worth discussing, because that's another one that's definitely gonna rustle some feathers, I think. But yeah, damn it.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's gonna be one that we keep talking about. I think, like, maybe in some side content more than our normal stuff, but.
Well, I think, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think because I will say this is our last episode for the year, I think, right? Until after Christmas, at least.
We're gonna come back. So we're not gonna do a regular episode next week, I think. But we will have some Game of the Year stuff recorded that may come in 2 parts, depending on how much we have. But I'm going to start to get some notes together. I kind of have an idea of something I want to do to make it a little special.
Yeah. I really have to finish this before that list is made.
Because this will go in our Game of the Year considerations for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's up. I think it's again, if you look past all of the issues and all the stuff that the company did and all this other shit, like, if you just look at it objectively as a game, I have a really hard time thinking of another game that has impacted me so greatly in the last while, really. Still not as good as Tony Hawk 1 and 2 Remastered, but it is a fantastic... I mean, the story in Tony Hawk 1 and 2, whatever. The story here, fantastic. No, but... Yeah, I mean, there is really...
That's what Cyberpunk is missing, is sick kick flips and Benihanas. That's really what
honestly,
it's
I
missing.
mean, honestly, yeah. Yeah. There's something so weird and endearing and just... Again, when everything meshes, and it does, I think, more often than not, when everything's really firing together, like, fuck, man, it is one of the most interesting titles that I've ever played.
It's a huge step forward, and I think, to be honest with you, like, seeing how The Witcher 3 was handled, we may be playing like a totally like different game this time next year if we stick with it. Like, I honestly believe that. There's like so much potential in here, and I think that they're in a position to want to do right by folks, and I think that making some much needed tweaks, improvements, balancing.
I mean, I think we're gonna get updates until that multiplayer game comes out. Because I don't see a reason for them not to do that. And I hope it ties in with this in some way. Of, you know, if you spent a ton of time in this game or something, because we don't know what it is, and it does seem like it's going to be a standalone game, not an addition to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think considering everything that's happened, I do feel like we're in this one. We're gonna be in this world for a while, which I'm totally happy with. But I will say the same caveat I've said to everybody, and again, it might not matter because you probably tuned out already if this is the caveat. But if you're only gonna play this game once, I would say wait 6 months.
Yeah.
And then do it then, because there is really something extraordinary in there.
Yeah,
but hey,
well,
that's Cyberpunk.
That's games. Honestly, I went through the game of this day in gaming. Nothing too fantastic.
Yeah, let me see what we got there, just real quick. I don't think there's anything. I'm really just curious if anything we talked about shows up here.
Honestly, no. That has not happened this time. Well, I guess technically Final Fantasy. Technically. But that's like
I'll take it.
Yeah. Subnautica, Elite Dangerous. There's some decent games on this list.
Oh, that's another thing. The pre-orders for the newest Elite Dangerous expansion
Odyssey,
are up.
yeah. Looks like you can get out of the vehicle and do combat and stuff now. What a fucking different game.
Looks like it's gonna be finished before Star Citizen ever is, and present almost exactly the same game.
Yeah.
That's giving discredit to Star Citizen because it seems like there's a lot more happening there.
Dude, nobody talks. Dude, like, I don't get it, man. I listen to so much gaming content, and I take in so much gaming, like news, and I'm reading articles.
Sure.
Nobody talks about Star Citizen. Nobody.
I've had like when I worked at the coffee shop, I had like 2 or 3 people come in that were enamored with that game. But he did say he's like there's a big caveat, like the game is definitely not finished. So if you are not into that, or if you're not into Sims, I think that's another thing. But it's one of those things that definitely has its niche audience for sure. Yeah, it's. I want a more accessible space game, is what I think the issue is, because Elite Dangerous is like a little too much, and
Starfield,
Star Citizen is way too much.
Starfield's coming. Dude. Who knows what that's gonna be? I'm kind of excited for that, to be honest. Like speaking of Bethesda and jank and gaming and stuff, like they can't afford to release something else like that. Like I think that Bethesda, if anything, like especially after Cyberpunk, I think that they're definitely gonna try to make as much of a polished product as possible this next time around. Like I honestly think so. I don't know.
I don't know. My only caveat to that is that they're building a whole new engine, and they couldn't get a handle on their old one for this amount of time. Yeah. So I don't know what they think building a completely new one for them is going to do. Maybe it would be great. I'm not going to disparage them and say they can't do it and they're not capable, et cetera, et cetera.
They got some good minds that did software to help out, honestly. Like, and I think there might be some cross pollination there with the R&D.
Well,
teams.
It'd be in their best interest to tap into the resources they have, because they don't seem to. Arcane's another great studio that they have with them that they don't pull from for some reason. Or maybe they do consulting or something at times. I don't really know, but it seems like because Arcane's like one of the studios I think I've loved everything they've made. I don't think I've had any of their games have not impressed me or been at least fun, and they're always in a similar fashion too. I mean, it's like Prey is not that different than Dishonored 1 and 2, and Deathloop doesn't seem that different than Dishonored either.
I'm excited for that game too.
Yeah, but they make really interesting playgrounds, like in their worlds that they build, and their narrative is always really cool and engaging, and yeah, they could learn something from that studio, I think. And yeah, it can make a pretty solid bug-free game at this point, so
hey,
they could learn something there as well.
And see
makers of great engines.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of day one bug issues for Doom.
No. No, you don't. And that game runs great on basically everything you put it on.
Apparently the Switch port's pretty fucking good
too.
You
can put on anything.
The Switch port just released for the Switch.
Yeah, it was like 2 days ago. I think it came out the same day Cyberpunk did, or maybe the day after or something.
It's apparently pretty good. So
yeah, I hadn't seen it yet. I mean, I imagine it took him long enough, so I imagine it's probably good. It was almost a full year, right? March, I guess. Not a full year, but pretty close.
The same day as Animal Crossing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we had all those Isabelle Dumarine crossover art stuff, which was always really fun.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Honestly, that was like one of the few times all corners of the gaming industry came together that were just like, this shit cute, dog. Yeah, I do support gore and violence, and I support fucking selling shit to a crooked raccoon. Hell yeah. It was really weird, but that was a good monumental moment. And then the world closed. It was right after that. We only got one moment, and then that was it.
Everybody retreated to their little animal islands. It was a great time.
Yeah. Also, at some point, Sonic the Hedgehog franchise tier list at some point. I don't know when, but at some point.
That's happening.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, and I was like, we could talk about every one of them, but I feel like a tier list, you know, they're a cliche at this point, but it makes sense. It's the easiest way for you to be able to talk to it and visually see what's happening.
Yes,
so
I agree.
I think we should do that.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well,
obviously,
that's games.
The problem is, you know, Sonic Generations is the only S tier Sonic game. But anyway, we'll yeah, until next week, guys. Thanks y'all for joining us. If you're looking for my stuff, you found it. For Christian, you can always find him at the Deadly Robot Everywhere. And right. Oh yeah, I finally heard the Run the Jewels song in the game. I haven't met them yet, but I heard the song.
Oh, are they in the game?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that was the implication, that they're there somewhere.
I'll look into that. I don't know if they are, but if they are,
I mean, the song plays in the car. That means they're in that universe. So maybe, you know,
who knows?
You put YouTubers in there, you might as well put Run the Jewels in there, for God's sake.
Hell yeah.
No, see y'all later.
Later.